Marcus Chen pressed his face against the transport window as Kepler 442b grew larger in the viewport. The planet looked nothing like Earth. 3 purple suns cast strange shadows across continents covered in silver forests and blue oceans that sparkled with an alien light. At 16, Marcus was one of only 12 human students selected for the prestigious Zephyrian Academy exchange program. His parents had been so proud when the acceptance letter arrived at their Mars colony. The Zephyrian transport ship was unlike anything humans had built. It moved without engines, powered by something the aliens called harmony resonance. The ship itself seemed alive, its walls shifting color based on the crew's mood. Marcus had spent the 3-week journey trying to understand how everything worked, much to the amusement of the Zephyrian crew members. Zephyrians were tall, graceful beings with skin that changed color like their ships. They had 4 arms and large, dark eyes that seemed to see everything. Most impressive was their collective intelligence. They could link their minds together to solve complex problems in seconds. For over 2,000 years, they had been the most advanced civilization in this part of the galaxy. When humans first made contact 5 years ago, the Zephyrians had been politely curious about the newcomers. Humans were seen as a young, energetic species with potential. But they needed guidance to avoid the mistakes that destroyed so many civilizations. The Academy Exchange Program was their way of helping promising human students learn proper thinking methods. Marcus stepped off the transport onto the Academy grounds and immediately felt overwhelmed. The buildings seemed to grow from the ground itself, twisting upward in impossible spirals. Students floated between levels without any visible technology supporting them. Everything moved with perfect efficiency and silence. Human student Marcus Chen, a voice spoke directly into his mind. He turned to see a Zephyrian approaching, her skin shifting from pale blue to warm gold. "I am Instructor Velnara. You will follow standard protocols during your stay. Our methods have preserved peace and prosperity for millennia. You will observe, learn, and adapt." Marcus nodded, though he felt uncomfortable with the mind speaking. Humans communicated through voices, expressions, and body language. This direct mental contact felt invasive, but he knew he needed to respect their customs. The first weeks at the academy were fascinating but frustrating. Marcus attended classes on advanced mathematics, stellar engineering, and consciousness studies. The Zephyrian students solved every problem through group mind linking. They would stand in circles, their skin pulsing with synchronized light, and complex equations would appear solved in the air above them. But Marcus couldn't link minds. His human brain wasn't built for it. When he tried to work problems alone, using methods he had learned on Mars, the other students watched with what seemed like pity. His solutions took longer and used different approaches. But they worked. Sometimes they worked better than the group solutions. In stellar engineering class, the students faced a challenge involving the design of a mining station for a volatile asteroid field. The Zephyrian groups linked minds and produced elegant solutions that minimized risk through careful coordination and shared processing power. Their designs were beautiful, efficient, and safe. Marcus worked alone at his desk, sketching designs on actual paper, something that made his classmates stare in confusion. His solution was different. Instead of trying to control every variable through perfect coordination, his design used independent systems that could adapt and respond to unexpected changes. If one system failed, others would automatically compensate. Instructor Velnara, one of the Zephyrian students, Keth Roll, mind spoke during the presentation. The human's design shows primitive redundancy thinking. Such crude backup systems indicate lack of faith in proper harmony methods. Marcus felt his face flush, but he stood up anyway. "With respect, my design accounts for cascade failures. If something goes wrong with your coordinated approach, everything fails together. My systems can handle surprises." The classroom fell silent. Velnara's skin shifted to a warning orange. "Human student, you question methods proven across centuries. This shows dangerous pride. Your species' tendency toward individual thinking has caused most of your historical conflicts. But individual thinking also led to our best discoveries," Marcus replied, his voice steady despite his nervousness. "Humans didn't get to space through group consensus. We got there because individuals were willing to take risks and try new approaches. The silence grew heavier. Other human students in the class looked uncomfortable, obviously wanting Marcus to stop talking. But something inside him wouldn't let this go. He had studied Zephyrian history during the journey here. Their incredible stability came at a cost. Your civilization is amazing, Marcus continued. But when did you last make a breakthrough discovery? When did you last solve a problem you hadn't seen before? Your harmony methods work perfectly for known situations. But what happens when you face something truly new? Kethrol's skin flashed angry red. Human arrogance. You have existed for mere moments compared to our civilization. You believe your chaotic methods superior to our proven wisdom? Marcus felt the weight of every eye in the classroom. He knew he should apologize, step back, accept their superior experience. That's what the exchange program was for, learning humility and proper thinking. But something about the way they dismissed human approaches bothered him deeply. I'm not saying our methods are superior, Marcus said carefully. I'm saying they're different. And maybe different approaches are valuable, even if they seem chaotic to you. Velnara's mental voice cut through the room like ice. Human Marcus Chen, you will present yourself to Schoolmaster Tranvel immediately. Your disruptive thinking requires correction. As Marcus gathered his paper sketches, he heard whispers behind him. Not the gentle mind speak of normal Zephyrian communication, but actual whispered voices, something they only used when discussing problems they didn't want to acknowledge directly. The human shows classic signs of species narcissism, one voice said, believes their primitive methods have value beyond novelty. Dangerous thinking, another replied. This is why most species fail to achieve true civilization. Marcus walked through the floating corridors toward the schoolmaster's office, his heart pounding. The other human students he passed looked at him with expressions ranging from sympathy to frustration. They were here to learn, to improve themselves, to show that humanity could adapt to higher forms of thinking. Marcus was threatening all of that. The schoolmaster's office sat at the top of the academy's central spire. Marcus had seen Tranvel from a distance during orientation, an ancient Zephyrian whose skin had settled into permanent deep purple, indicating someone who had achieved perfect harmony with collective consciousness. Tranvel was said to be over 300 years old and had guided thousands of students from dozens of species. Human Marcus Chen. Tranvel's mental voice carried weight that made Marcus's head ache. Sit. Marcus settled into a chair that formed itself around his body. Tranvel floated behind a desk that seemed to be made of crystallized light, studying Marcus with those large, dark eyes. Your instructor reports concerning behavior. You question proven methods. You display species superiority complex. You disrupt classroom harmony with primitive thinking patterns. Marcus took a deep breath. Schoolmaster, I didn't mean to disrupt anything. I was just trying to contribute to the discussion. Contribution requires wisdom, human student. Your species lacks perspective. You exist for brief moments. Achieve limited understanding, yet believe your chaotic approaches have merit equal to our refined methods. The words stung because Marcus could see their logic. Humans had been in space for less than a century. They had never achieved anything close to Zephyrian stability or advancement. Who was he to question methods that had worked for 2 millennia? But something nagged at him. During his research on the journey here, he had noticed gaps in Zephyrian history. Periods where their records became vague about technological progress, times when they seemed to have stopped exploring, stopped pushing boundaries. Schoolmaster, Marcus said carefully. I've studied your history. Your civilization achieved incredible things, but most of your greatest advances happened in your early periods, when you still had individual thinkers alongside collective consciousness. The harmony methods perfected everything you had discovered. But when did they last help you discover something completely new? Tranvel's skin darkened further. Dangerous questions, human. Individual thinking leads to conflict, to waste, to the destruction that has claimed countless species. We have achieved perfect stability. But at what cost? The words came out before Marcus could stop them. When humans first contacted you, your people were genuinely surprised that we had developed faster than light travel using completely different principles from yours. You hadn't seen new approaches in centuries. The office fell silent except for a faint humming that Marcus realized came from the building itself, some kind of harmony resonance that helped maintain the structure. But there was something about that humming that bothered him. It was too perfect, too predictable. You will apologize to Instructor Velnara and your classmates, Tranvel said finally. You will acknowledge the superiority of collective harmony methods. You will cease promoting dangerous individual thinking approaches. Marcus felt the weight of expectation. This was his chance to salvage the situation, to show proper respect for Zephyrian wisdom, to continue his education at the most prestigious academy in the known galaxy. His parents would be devastated if he was sent home in disgrace. But as he sat in that perfect office, listening to that perfect humming, Marcus thought about human history, about individuals who had been told their ideas were wrong, dangerous, disruptive, about times when being willing to stand alone had led to breakthroughs that changed everything. Schoolmaster, Marcus said quietly, I respect your civilization and your wisdom, but I can't apologize for thinking differently. If you want me to leave the academy, I understand. But I won't pretend that having different approaches is wrong. Tranvel's skin went completely black, something Marcus had never seen before. You choose to maintain your disruptive position? I choose to be honest about what I believe, Marcus replied. Isn't that what education should encourage? The silence stretched so long that Marcus wondered if the meeting was over. Finally, Tranvel spoke, but not with the usual mental projection. Instead, he used his actual voice, something Zephyrians rarely did. Human student, Tranvel said aloud, his voice carrying strange harmonics. You create significant difficulty. Your position threatens established order. Yet, he paused, and Marcus saw something flicker across his features that might have been uncertainty. Yet your questions echo concerns that some among us have begun to voice privately. Marcus leaned forward slightly. What kind of concerns? Concerns that perhaps perfect harmony has eliminated necessary chaos. That our methods, while stable, may have limited our growth in ways we have not acknowledged. The admission hung in the air between them. Marcus realized he was witnessing something rare. A crack in the perfect facade of Zephyrian certainty. Recent events have challenged our assumptions. Tranvel continued. The human faster-than-light breakthrough, as you mentioned. But also, the Korvaxi crisis 3 months ago, a situation our harmony methods could not resolve, yet human military advisors suggested solutions that proved effective. Marcus remembered hearing about the Korvaxi crisis, some kind of conflict in a nearby system that had threatened Zephyrian trade routes. He hadn't known that humans had been involved in resolving it. Your presence here creates ripples, human Marcus Chen. Your classmates speak privately of your questions. Some find them disturbing. Others find them intriguing. Even Instructor Velnara has requested private consultation on the implications of your design approaches. Marcus felt a flutter of hope, but also growing pressure. What does this mean for my status at the academy? Tranvel floated higher, his skin cycling through colors Marcus had never seen before. Rapid shifts between deep purple and bright silver. It means you have forced us to confront questions we have avoided for generations. Questions about whether perfect harmony serves perfect stagnation. The schoolmaster moved to the large window that overlooked the academy grounds. Students floated between buildings in their usual silent efficiency, their movements coordinated like a beautiful dance. Everything worked perfectly. You will not apologize, Tranvel said finally. Instead, you will continue your studies under special observation. Your different thinking approaches will be studied. Other students will be encouraged to interact with you, to understand how individual consciousness approaches problems. Marcus felt relief wash over him, but it was mixed with apprehension. What kind of special observation? The kind that determines whether human thinking methods represent valuable diversity or dangerous chaos. Tranvel turned back to face him, skin now cycling between gold and silver. Be aware, human student, that your choice to maintain your position has consequences beyond yourself. You now represent a test case for your entire species' integration into galactic civilization. The weight of that responsibility settled on Marcus's shoulders like a heavy cloak. He had stood up for his principles. But now he carried the burden of proving that human approaches had value. If he failed, it wouldn't just affect his own education, it could impact humanity's relationship with one of the galaxy's most influential civilizations. I understand, Schoolmaster, Marcus said, standing up. I'll do my best to show that different doesn't mean wrong. As Marcus left the office, he noticed that the perfect humming sound had developed subtle variations, small irregularities that made the harmony more complex and somehow more interesting. He wondered if that change meant something, or if he was just imagining patterns where none existed. Walking back through the academy corridors, Marcus saw other students watching him with new interest. Word traveled fast in a collective consciousness society. He had become something unprecedented. A student who had challenged the system and been allowed to continue rather than being corrected or expelled. The next few days would determine whether his stand for individual thinking would prove worthwhile, or whether he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. But as he returned to his dormitory, Marcus felt something he hadn't expected. He wasn't alone anymore. Other students, both human and Zephyrian, had begun to approach him with questions about his design methods and problem-solving approaches. Perhaps perfect harmony wasn't as perfect as everyone had believed. And perhaps that was exactly what the academy needed to discover. Word of Marcus's meeting with Schoolmaster Tranvel spread through the academy faster than he had expected. By the next morning, every student seemed to know that the human had challenged, established methods, and somehow avoided punishment. The reactions were mixed and intense. During breakfast in the communal hall, Marcus noticed the change immediately. Zephyrian students who had previously ignored him now watched with obvious curiosity. Their skin colors shifted constantly as they communicated in rapid mind-speak exchanges. Meanwhile, the other human students looked uncomfortable, some even angry. You realize what you've done, don't you? Sarah Martinez, another human exchange student, approached his table with clear frustration in her voice. We're here to learn from them, not to convince them we know better. Marcus looked up from his meal. A protein synthesis that tasted like chicken but had the texture of pudding. I'm not trying to convince them of anything. I'm just being honest about how I think. Your honesty might get all of us sent home, replied David Kim, the third human student in Marcus's year group. Do you know how hard our families worked to get us here? This is supposed to prove that humans can adapt to higher civilization standards. Unhard. Before Marcus could respond, an unexpected voice interrupted their conversation. The human approaches demonstrate fascinating alternative pathways. The speaker was Keth Roll, the Zephyrian student who had criticized Marcus's design just days before. His skin displayed an unusual pattern, gold streaks against blue background that Marcus had never seen. Sarah and David stared in shock as Keth Roll continued. Individual consciousness creates solutions that collective harmony cannot generate. This contradicts fundamental assumptions about optimal thinking methods. Marcus gestured to an empty chair. Would you like to join us? That would be educational. Keth Roll settled into the chair, which adjusted itself to his different physiology. I have been conducting private analysis of your asteroid mining design. The redundancy systems you proposed show remarkable adaptation to uncertainty. You've been studying my work? Marcus asked, surprised. Without authorization, Keth Roll admitted, his skin showing embarrassed orange patches. Individual curiosity is not encouraged among my people. Yet your approaches generate questions that collective analysis cannot address. David leaned forward, clearly confused. What kind of questions? Questions about innovation versus stability, Keth Roll replied. For 17 generations, Zephyrian technology has shown minimal advancement. We perfect existing methods, but rarely discover new principles. Human contact has highlighted this limitation. Sarah looked between Marcus and Keth Roll with growing concern. Are you saying the Zephyrian methods are flawed? I am saying they may be incomplete, Keth Roll corrected. Perfect harmony eliminates chaos. But chaos may be necessary for breakthrough discoveries. Their conversation was interrupted by a gentle chime that echoed through the hall. All students immediately stood and began moving toward their assigned classes. Marcus noticed that several other Zephyrian students approached their table as they walked, asking quiet questions about human problem-solving methods. In Advanced Systems Engineering class, Instructor Velnara presented the day's challenge with unusual intensity. Her skin displayed formal silver patterns that indicated important evaluation protocols. Today's exercise tests response to cascade failure scenarios, she announced to the class. You will design emergency protocols for a space habitat experiencing multiple simultaneous system breakdowns. How take all? The scenario appeared in the air above their desks, a detailed holographic representation of a research station with failing life support, compromised hull integrity, and disrupted power distribution. Traditional Zephyrian method would be to link consciousness and coordinate perfect responses to each failure point. Marcus watched as the Zephyrian students formed their usual mind-link circles. Their skins pulsed in synchronization as they processed the scenario collectively. Within minutes, they had developed coordinated repair protocols that addressed each system failure through shared processing power and perfect timing. But Marcus approached the problem differently. Instead of trying to coordinate responses to each failure, he focused on creating autonomous systems that could function independently when coordination became impossible. His emergency protocols assumed that communication might be lost, that personnel might be isolated, that perfect coordination might not be achievable. Human Marcus. Velnara's mental voice carried unusual tension. Present your solution. Marcus stood, activating his design display. My protocol assumes worst-case scenarios where collective coordination fails. Each section of the habitat gets independent decision-making systems. If the station splits apart, each piece can keep people alive until rescue arrives. The classroom fell silent. Marcus's solution looked crude compared to the elegant Zephyrian approaches. His design assumed failure rather than preventing it. It prepared for chaos rather than maintaining order. Your approach embraces system breakdown, observed Chantel, one of the more thoughtful Zephyrian students. Why design for failure rather than preventing failure? Marcus thought carefully before responding. Because sometimes failure happens anyway, and when it does, people need systems that work, even when everything goes wrong. Kethrol spoke up unexpectedly. The human approach addresses limitation in our methods. Our solutions require maintained collective consciousness. But what occurs if collective consciousness becomes impossible? Velnara's skin shifted to warning orange. Collective consciousness failure represents theoretical concern only. Proper harmony methods prevent such breakdowns. Theoretical until it happens, Marcus said quietly. Then it becomes a survival problem. The tension in the room grew stronger. Marcus realized he was again challenging fundamental assumptions. But this time, he wasn't alone. Several Zephyrian students were beginning to ask questions that their education had never encouraged. That afternoon brought unexpected developments. Marcus was studying in the library when Schoolmaster Tranvel approached his table. The ancient Zephyrian's skin showed rapid color fluctuations that indicated high stress levels. Human Marcus Chen, you will accompany me to emergency consultation. Marcus gathered his materials and followed Tranvel through corridors he had never seen before. They entered a restricted section of the academy, where the walls showed no decorative patterns, only functional displays of data and communication feeds. Situation has developed that requires immediate attention, Tranvel explained as they walked. The research station Kepler-7 has experienced catastrophic system failures. Traditional coordination protocols have proven insufficient. They entered a crisis management center, where dozens of Zephyrian officials worked in perfect synchronization, their linked consciousness processing information faster than any individual mind could follow. But despite their collective effort, the displays showed a worsening situation. 17 researchers trapped on failing station, Tranvel summarized. Multiple cascade failures exactly matching your theoretical scenario from today's class. Collective coordination methods cannot establish stable rescue protocols. Marcus stared at the displays in shock. The failing station matched his classroom exercise almost perfectly. life support compromised, hull breaches spreading, power systems failing in sequence. But this wasn't a simulation. Real people were dying. "Why are you telling me this?" Marcus asked. "Because your chaos preparation protocols may offer solutions our harmony methods cannot generate." Tranvel's admission carried enormous weight. "We request human consultation on crisis management." The implications hit Marcus immediately. The most advanced civilization in the galaxy was asking a 16-year-old human for help because their perfect methods couldn't handle unexpected chaos. This was either validation of everything he had argued, or the setup for catastrophic failure. "What kind of consultation?" Marcus asked. "Direct input on rescue protocol development. Your individual consciousness approach to system independence may provide necessary flexibility." Tranvel led Marcus to a control station where he could interface with the crisis management system. The displays showed real-time data from the failing station. 17 people trapped in various sections, systems failing faster than repairs could be implemented, rescue ships unable to establish stable docking procedures due to the station's unpredictable movement. Marcus studied the information for several minutes, his human brain processing the situation differently from the collective consciousness approaches surrounding him. Where the Zephyrians saw coordination problems requiring better harmony, Marcus saw adaptation challenges requiring flexible responses. "The rescue ships are trying to match the station's movement patterns," Marcus observed. "But the station's damage makes its movement unpredictable. Instead of trying to predict its motion, what if rescue ships prepared for multiple possibilities?" "Explain this approach," Tranvel requested. "Send multiple small rescue pods instead of one large ship. Each pod prepares for different scenarios, different docking points, different approach vectors, different emergency situations. When they arrive, they adapt to whatever they actually find, instead of what they planned to find." The Zephyrian crisis managers exchanged rapid mind-speak communications. Marcus could feel their collective consciousness processing his suggestion, testing it against their established methods. "Human approach shows merit," admitted Chief Coordinator Velthon, "but implementation requires abandoning coordinated precision for chaotic adaptation." "Sometimes chaos works better than precision," Marcus replied, "especially when the situation itself is chaotic." What followed was the strangest collaboration Marcus could have imagined. Zephyrian collective consciousness provided computational power and resource coordination, while Marcus contributed flexible thinking and adaptation strategies. Together, they developed hybrid protocols that combined harmony methods with chaos preparation. The rescue mission launched 3 hours later. Instead of one perfectly coordinated rescue ship, they sent 7 small pods with independent decision-making systems. Each pod captain, both Zephyrian and human volunteers, received general objectives but freedom to adapt their approaches based on actual conditions. Marcus watched the rescue progress from the crisis center, surrounded by Zephyrian officials whose skin colors shifted constantly as they processed incoming data. The diversity of approaches proved crucial. When the first docking point failed due to unexpected hull damage, 2 alternative pods were already positioned for different access routes. When life support failed in one section, independent rescue protocols allowed immediate evacuation rather than waiting for coordinated response approval. All 17 researchers were rescued successfully. More importantly, the hybrid protocols had proven that combining collective harmony with individual adaptation could handle situations that neither approach could solve alone. Human Marcus Chen. Tranvel spoke privately as the crisis center returned to normal operations. "Your contribution has forced significant reconsideration of our methodologies." "I just offered a different perspective," Marcus replied. "Your people provided everything else. A different perspective that saved lives." Tranvel's skin showed color patterns Marcus recognized as deep thoughtfulness. This creates substantial implications for Academy policies and galactic civilization assumptions. As news of the successful rescue spread through the Academy, Marcus found himself at the center of intense attention. Students who had previously dismissed his approaches now sought detailed explanations of his thinking methods. The human students who had criticized him for disrupting their education now looked at him with new respect, but the attention also brought pressure. Marcus realized that his individual stand had evolved into something much larger. a test case for whether human thinking approaches had legitimate value in galactic civilization. Success would open doors for human integration and cooperation. Failure would confirm Zephyrian assumptions about human primitive thinking. That evening, as Marcus walked through the Academy gardens, he was approached by an unexpected group, senior Zephyrian students who rarely interacted with exchange students. "Human Marcus," spoke their leader, an ancient student named Carvel, whose skin displayed permanent golden patterns indicating advanced harmonic achievement. "We request private discussion regarding your methodologies." Marcus nodded, curious about what these advanced students wanted to discuss. "Recent events have generated significant debate among senior levels," Carvel continued. "Your approaches challenge assumptions we have maintained for generations. Some among us believe this challenge represents necessary evolution. Others consider it dangerous deviation." "What kind of debate?" Marcus asked. "Debate about whether perfect harmony serves perfect stagnation, as you suggested to Schoolmaster Tranvel. Whether our civilization has achieved stability at the cost of growth." Carvel gestured toward the Academy buildings, their perfect spires reaching into the alien sky. "For centuries, we have refined our methods, perfected our coordination, eliminated uncertainty. Yet we have also eliminated surprise, discovery, breakthrough innovation." Marcus listened carefully, sensing the importance of this conversation. "Your species represents chaos we have learned to fear," Carvel continued. "Individual consciousness, unpredictable responses, adaptation without coordination. Yet this chaos has generated solutions we could not achieve through harmony." "Are you saying you want to learn chaos methods?" Marcus asked. "We are saying we want to learn balance," replied another senior student. "Harmony with chaos elements. Collective consciousness with individual innovation capability." The implications were staggering. The most advanced students at the galaxy's most prestigious academy were questioning the fundamental assumptions their civilization had built upon, and they were looking to a 16-year-old human for guidance on alternatives. "I don't have all the answers," Marcus said honestly. "Humans make plenty of mistakes with individual thinking. We fight wars, create conflicts, make bad decisions. Yet you also create breakthroughs," Carvel observed. "You discover new principles, solve unexpected problems, adapt to novel situations. These capabilities may be worth associated risks." As Marcus returned to his dormitory that night, he understood that his refusal to apologize had set forces in motion that extended far beyond his personal education. The Academy was beginning to question methods that had remained unchanged for generations. Students were exploring thinking approaches their species had never valued. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests of whether human chaos could complement Zephyrian harmony. The success of the rescue mission had proven the concept worked in crisis situations. Now Marcus would need to demonstrate whether it could work in everyday applications. The teenager who had simply wanted to contribute honestly to classroom discussions had become an inadvertent catalyst for civilizational change. Whether that change would prove beneficial or destructive remained to be determined. 3 weeks after the rescue mission, Schoolmaster Tranvel stood in his office looking out at Academy grounds that had changed in ways he could never have anticipated. Below, students moved through the corridors in patterns he had never seen before, some in traditional harmony groups, others in small discussion clusters, and many working individually, while maintaining loose coordination with their peers. The change had started small. After Marcus Chen's successful contribution to the Kepler-7 rescue, a few curious students had begun experimenting with individual problem-solving approaches. Then more students joined them. Soon, entire classes were requesting instruction in chaos methodology, alongside traditional harmony methods. Tranvel's personal communicator chimed with another urgent message from the Galactic Education Council. The 12th such message this week, each one expressing concern about reports of uncontrolled experimentation at the Academy, each one questioning his decision to allow the human student to maintain his disruptive position. The irony was bitter. Tranvel had initially viewed Marcus's challenge as a simple correction opportunity, a chance to guide a young individual toward proper thinking methods. Instead, The human teenager had triggered the most significant educational upheaval in Zephyrian history. Schoolmaster. Instructor Velnara's mental voice carried unusual complexity as she entered his office. The morning crisis simulation results require your immediate attention. Tranvel turned from the window, noting that Velnara's skin displayed color patterns he had never seen before. Rapid shifts between gold and silver that seemed to indicate excitement mixed with uncertainty. Present the analysis, Tranvel replied. Student groups using hybrid methodologies, combining harmony consciousness with individual adaptation, have achieved unprecedented results. They solved simulation scenarios that pure harmony groups could not address. However, they also failed scenarios where traditional methods succeed consistently. Tranvel absorbed this information with growing complexity of emotion. The human influence was producing exactly what he had feared. Unpredictable results that challenged established certainties. More concerning, Velnara continued. Student requests for individual thinking instruction have exceeded our teaching capacity. Many students now question whether pure harmony methods represent optimal approaches. And the human Marcus Chen? Currently leading informal study groups that include senior students from multiple species. His influence has extended beyond original projections. Tranvel felt a weight settling in his consciousness that he hadn't experienced in decades. When he had first encountered the human teenager's challenge, he had expected either quick correction or simple expulsion. He had never anticipated that allowing Marcus to maintain his position would undermine fundamental assumptions about optimal thinking methods. A gentle chime announced another arrival. Marcus Chen entered the office, accompanied by Carvel and 3 other senior students. The human looked tired but determined, while his Zephyrian companions displayed skin patterns indicating high excitement levels. Schoolmaster, Marcus began respectfully. We need to discuss what's happening at the academy. Indeed we do, Tranvel replied. Your influence has created significant disruption to established educational methods. Actually, that's what we want to talk about, Marcus continued. The disruption isn't working the way I intended. Tranvel felt surprise flicker through his consciousness. Explain, Carvel spoke up, his golden skin patterns pulsing rapidly. Human Marcus has observed that students are abandoning harmony methods entirely in favor of chaos approaches. This creates opposite imbalance from original problem. I never meant for people to stop using collective consciousness, Marcus explained. I just thought individual thinking could add something valuable to the mix. But now some students think harmony methods are primitive, just like some people used to think individual thinking was primitive. Marcus moved to the large window, looking down at the academy grounds with obvious concern. Yesterday, I watched a group of students attempt a coordination exercise using pure individual methods. They failed completely because they couldn't work together at all. They had swung from one extreme to the other. The human has requested our assistance in developing balanced integration protocols, Carvel added. Methods that preserve harmony consciousness advantages while incorporating adaptive individual capabilities. Tranvel felt the irony deepen. The student who had disrupted their educational system was now concerned about the disruption he had caused. What specific assistance do you require? 1. Permission to establish formal experimental curriculum, Marcus replied. Not just individual thinking methods, but integrated approaches that combine the best of both systems. Harmony when coordination helps, individual adaptation when flexibility is needed. Such curriculum would require fundamental revision of academy methodologies, Tranvel observed. The Galactic Education Council has already expressed concerns about current changes, which is why we need to show them that integration works better than replacement, Marcus said. If students learn both approaches properly, they can choose the right tool for each situation instead of trying to force everything into one method. Velnara's mental voice carried new thoughts. Preliminary analysis suggests merit in integration concepts. Recent simulation results show that groups using selective methodology application outperformed both pure harmony and pure individual approaches. Tranvel considered the implications. Approving formal integration curriculum would represent acknowledgement that traditional Zephyrian methods were incomplete. It would validate the human's original challenge while attempting to prevent the chaos that challenge had created. The risk level of such experimentation exceeds standard parameters, Tranvel noted. Everything has risks, Marcus replied. The question is whether the benefits are worth those risks. Pure harmony methods work great for stable situations, but they don't handle surprises well. Pure individual methods adapt to change, but they create conflict and inefficiency. Maybe the answer isn't choosing one approach, but learning when to use each one. Human wisdom seeks balance between extremes, Carvel added. This matches ancient Zephyrian philosophy from before we achieved perfect harmony. Tranvel felt something shift in his thinking. Ancient philosophy. He had not considered early Zephyrian history and centuries. Before perfect harmony had been achieved, their civilization had indeed valued balanced approaches. Individual thinkers had worked alongside collective consciousness groups, creating the innovations that eventually led to their technological superiority. Retrieve historical records from pre-harmony period 7, Tranvel instructed his office systems. Data displays materialized in the air around them, showing Zephyrian civilization during its most innovative centuries. Tranvel studied the information with growing amazement. Their greatest technological breakthroughs had indeed occurred during periods when individual thinking complemented rather than competed with collective consciousness. Our ancestors used integration methodologies, Tranvel admitted with surprise. Perfect harmony eliminated individual thinking as inefficient chaos. But historical analysis suggests that efficiency and innovation require different balances. Marcus leaned forward with excitement. That's exactly what I've been trying to say. Not that human methods are better than yours, but that both approaches have value. Your harmony methods create stability and efficiency. Human individual methods create adaptation and innovation. Together, they might create something neither can achieve alone. Formal experimentation would require council approval, Tranvel noted. Such approval seems unlikely given current concerns about academy disruption. Unless we can demonstrate clear success, Carvel suggested. Prove that integration produces superior results to pure methodologies. How would you propose to demonstrate such success? Tranvel asked. Marcus exchanged glances with the Zephyrian students before answering. The Galactic Engineering Challenge. It starts next month, with student teams from across the galaxy competing to solve the Titan Station infrastructure problem. Tranvel felt his consciousness focus sharply. The Galactic Engineering Challenge represented the most prestigious academic competition in known space. Student teams were given 1 month to develop solutions for real-world engineering problems that had stumped professional teams for years. Winning teams typically came from the most advanced academies using proven methodologies. You propose entering a hybrid methodology team in direct competition with traditional approaches? Tranvel asked. We propose proving that integration works by solving a problem that pure methods cannot, Marcus replied. The Titan Station problem has been unsolved for 3 years precisely because it requires both perfect coordination and flexible adaptation. Velnara's skin shifted to interested gold patterns. Titan Station construction requires managing 17 different alien construction technologies while adapting to unpredictable gravitational variations. Traditional harmony methods cannot coordinate such diversity. Individual methods cannot achieve necessary precision. But integration methods might handle both requirements, Carvel added. Collective consciousness for coordination, precision, individual adaptation for technological diversity management. Tranvel considered the proposal with growing interest and apprehension. Success would validate everything Marcus had argued about the value of integration approaches. Failure would confirm council concerns about the dangers of abandoning proven methods. Competition entry would require formal academy support, Tranvel noted. Such support represents significant risk to academy reputation. Everything we do has risks, Marcus replied, echoing his earlier words. But not trying also has risks. If integration methods really work better for complex problems, then proving it helps everyone. If they don't work, then we learn that too. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication alert. Council Representative Thalmore's image appeared in the office, his dark purple skin indicating extreme disapproval. Schoolmaster Tranvel. Immediate explanation required regarding academy methodology modifications. Reports indicate systematic abandonment of proven educational approaches. Tranvel felt the weight of authority and responsibility settling heavily on his consciousness. His decision to allow Marcus's challenge had led to this moment. Either vindication of progressive thinking or confirmation of dangerous deviation. Council representative, Academy personnel are conducting controlled experimentation with integrated teaching methodologies. Tranvel replied carefully. Such experimentation exceeds Academy authority. Traditional harmony methods have maintained galactic educational stability for centuries. Individual thinking approaches represent regression to primitive chaos. Marcus stepped forward, surprising everyone by addressing the council representative directly. Representative Thalmor, with respect, your civilization achieved its greatest advances during periods when individual thinking worked alongside collective consciousness. Pure harmony eliminated innovation along with chaos. Thalmor's skin darkened to black. Extreme anger levels. Human student presumption exceeds acceptable parameters. Council directive. Terminate experimental methodologies immediately. Return to proven educational approaches. Tranvel felt the moment of decision arriving faster than he had anticipated. Support the experimentation and risk council censure, or abandon the integration approaches and confirm that challenging established methods was ultimately futile. Council representative, Tranvel said slowly. Academy requests permission to demonstrate integration methodology effectiveness through Galactic Engineering Challenge participation. Unacceptable risk. Traditional Academy teams achieve consistent high performance through proven methods. Experimental approaches threaten Academy reputation and student development. Then let us prove our methods work, Marcus said with quiet determination. If integration approaches fail in direct competition with traditional methods, we'll accept that individual thinking should remain secondary. But if they succeed, you'll consider that maybe both approaches have value. Thalmor's image flickered with communication delays as he consulted with other council members. Finally, his response carried formal weight. Council accepts demonstration proposal. Academy team using experimental methodologies will compete against traditional teams. Failure will result in immediate termination of integration experiments and student expulsion for disruptive influence. The communication ended, leaving the office in heavy silence. Tranvel realized that his decision to allow Marcus's original challenge had led inevitably to this moment. A formal test of whether human thinking approaches deserved place in galactic civilization. Human Marcus Chen, Tranvel said formally, you have created consequence beyond your original intentions. Your refusal to apologize has forced confrontation between established methods and unknown alternatives. Marcus nodded solemnly. I know. And I'm sorry that my standing up for what I believed has put everyone at risk. Yet you would make the same choice again? Tranvel asked. Marcus considered carefully before answering. Yes, because I think both of our approaches are valuable, and the only way to prove that was to be honest about what I believed, even when it was difficult. Then you will lead our integration methodology team, Tranvel decided. You will have 1 month to prove that your principles produce superior results. Failure will confirm that individual thinking disrupts rather than enhances collective wisdom. As the group prepared to leave, Tranvel experienced something he had not felt in decades, genuine uncertainty about the future. The human teenager's simple refusal to apologize had set in motion changes that would either revolutionize galactic education or confirm the dangers of abandoning proven wisdom. Over the following month, the Academy transformed into something unprecedented in its history. Students from multiple species worked in integrated teams, learning to combine collective consciousness with individual innovation. Some experiments failed spectacularly. Others achieved results that surprised even Tranvel. Marcus found himself at the center of intensive collaboration unlike anything he had experienced. Zephyrian collective consciousness could process vast amounts of information simultaneously, while human individual thinking could generate creative solutions to unexpected problems. Together, they developed approaches to the Titan Station challenge that neither group could have achieved alone. But as the competition deadline approached, Tranvel found himself questioning whether he had made the right choice in allowing this experimentation. The Galactic Education Council's attention had attracted scrutiny from higher authorities. Reports reached him that other academies were expressing concern about primitive methodology contamination spreading from Zephyrian Academy. The night before the competition results were announced, Tranvel stood in his office looking out at academy grounds that had changed beyond recognition. Students moved in hybrid patterns that combined coordination with individual initiative. The perfect harmony of previous generations had been replaced by something more complex, more unpredictable, but somehow more alive. Schoolmaster, Marcus approached with obvious nervousness. Whatever happens with the competition, I want you to know that this experience has taught me that both our species have things to learn from each other. And what have you learned, human student? I've learned that challenging established methods isn't just about proving they're wrong. It's about finding better ways that honor what works, while improving what doesn't. Marcus paused, looking out at the academy grounds. Your harmony methods create stability and cooperation that humans struggle to achieve. But human individual thinking creates innovation and adaptation that helps when unexpected things happen. You believe integration represents optimal approach? Tranvel asked. I believe integration represents honest approach, Marcus replied, using the best tools for each situation, instead of trying to force everything into one method. The next morning brought the competition results. In the Academy's main hall, students and faculty gathered to hear whether their experimental approaches had succeeded or failed. Tranvel felt the weight of generations of tradition hanging in balance, as Council Representative Thalmore's image appeared. Galactic Engineering Challenge results. Thalmore announced with formal neutrality. Zephyrian Academy Integration Methodology Team has achieved unprecedented success. Their Titan Station solution addresses all technical requirements while providing adaptive capabilities that professional teams had not achieved. Relief washed through the hall, but Thalmore continued with obvious reluctance. However, solution implementation requires training programs that combine collective consciousness with individual thinking approaches. Such programs represent significant departure from established educational protocols. Marcus stepped forward one final time. Representative Thalmore. Successful solutions sometimes require changing how we approach problems. The Titan Station challenge couldn't be solved with just harmony methods or just individual methods. It needed both. Human presumption continues to exceed parameters, Thalmore replied coldly. Yet results suggest merit in controlled integration experiments. Controlled experiments became the compromise that allowed integration methodologies to continue while maintaining traditional approaches for students who preferred pure harmony methods. Marcus's refusal to apologize had ultimately created options rather than replacements. As the Academy settled into its new dual methodology approach, Tranvel reflected on the unexpected consequences of one teenager's principled stand. The schoolmaster who had initially intended to correct disruptive thinking now found himself wishing he had kept quiet about the human's challenge, not because it had been wrong, but because its success had created responsibilities and changes he had never anticipated. Marcus Chen completed his exchange program having proven that different approaches could be valuable without being superior. The Academy had learned that perfect harmony could be enhanced rather than replaced by individual innovation, and the galaxy had discovered that combining diverse thinking methods could solve problems that pure approaches could not address. But perhaps most importantly, a 16-year-old human had demonstrated that sometimes the most important education comes not from accepting established wisdom, but from having the courage to respectfully question it while remaining open to learning from the answer.